venture to say that a movement like that would be just about unbeatable under any circumstances. That's my claim. You hold me to that. Now, we did have one which was darn close, and that was the First Intifada. And we were talking about that a bit last time. Remember, you had those chickens in the cages? I don't remember constructive program of the Intifada. That's a nice image. Chickens, don't show it to the people in PETA. Poor caged chickens. They have a problem with this, but I don't want to go there right now. Clandestine schools, on up to the point where, quote, every woman becomes every child's mother. You have a real fusion of the society. There was very little assassination of collaborators at that point in time. And you had people inventing their entire infrastructure. Excellent Swadeshi, very good constructive program. On the other hand, and we haven't had a chance to talk about this in detail, they had very good obstructive program also. They knew how to do it, they had the courage, and so forth. If you want an iconic story here too, this story comes from my friend Mubarak Awad, who set up an office in Ramallah called the Center for Study Palestinian Nonviolence, something like that. And his notion was that he was just going to have a library there, and people wanted to learn about nonviolence. They would come and they would read Gene Sharp, somebody like he didn't know about Nagel yet. Read Gene Sharp, maybe discuss a few things over coffee, and then they would go out and do it. So he launched, I'll tell you several stories actually if you will indulge me. He launched this movement with a big meeting. He called a meeting. He printed posters in Hebrew, Arabic, and English saying we're going to talk about nonviolent resistance to the occupation. Fully anticipating two things. Nobody would come and he'd get arrested. Instead, what happened was 300 people crammed into this little space that he had, and he was not arrested. So he starts this thing, and he's been up and running for a few weeks when a farmer comes in and says, I need nonviolence. You know, give me la'uf, which is the Arabic word they were using for nonviolence at that point. It's as bad as the English word, so I'm not terribly happy with it, but that's what he said. So Mubarak said, oh, okay, you sit down here, here's the books, start reading them. He said, no, I want nonviolence. They're stealing my land now. We've got to get out there and stop them. And Mubarak said, I'm a psychologist. I don't know how to do this. But there you go. You're launched. So he got together a group of Palestinians and Israelis. Said, okay, we have 3 rules here. We're going to work together. We're going to eat together, which is a very big deal in the Middle East. You sit down and eat together. You're practically blood relations. And no throwing stones. Okay, this is, you remember in the film, this reference to throwing stones being a part of the Intifada. And I want to discuss that with you for just a second later. So this they went out and did, and it was a successful event. They actually forced the settlers to give back the land, this farmer's land, and nothing was really launched. Now, at a later point, this is my third story, there was a kid. He was a part of what they call in the Middle East, he was one of the Shabab. The Shabab are youth from about 16 to 22. They're notoriously difficult to control. They're not easy to control in the U.S. either, but at least in the U.S. they don't throw stones. They just do drive-by shootings and things like that. Anyway, what's happening over and over again, and the people from Bulin will probably mention this. It happens over and over. You have a demonstration, it's very peaceful, very nonviolent, then, uh-oh, here come the Shabab. Riding over the hill. They start throwing stones at the Israelis who are sitting there in heavy armor, face masks and everything, and they immediately shoot back with rubber bullets and tear gas, and that's the end of the demonstration. One of my students was on one of these demonstrations. He was running away and he forgot his mantra. It was so scary. Anyway, this kid is out there on a street corner, and there's a regular IDF patrol going by in a Jeep, and he throws a stone at the Jeep. He hits an IDF soldier. And by the way, in the course of this whole uprising then and now, one IDF soldier has actually lost an eye because of a stone. So it's not like we're talking about only purely symbolic violence here. And the soldier, who did not lose his eye, jumps out of the Jeep, chases this kid, catches him, beats him up very badly, and they go on about their business. What happens the next morning? Anybody want to guess? I'll give you a hint. It's like the story of the demonstration in Tehran. Here's our same kid, limping up to the street corner. There goes the Jeep. He lobs a stone. Probably doesn't hit the soldier this time. Again, the soldier jumps out of the Jeep. Again, he chases him up the street. Of course, catches him. It's a lot easier now. Beats him up again. Okay? Morning number 3. Anybody want to guess what happened? Okay, here's our kid. Hunkering over to the street corner. The Jeep comes. He lobs the stone ineffectually. Soldier gets out. He starts to run. Okay, now for an A. What happens this time? He didn't stop running, actually. The soldier, but that's close, right? On the right track. It's like A minus. The soldier caught him and gave him a big hug. At which point, the kid marched into Mubarak's office and said, what's going on here? Why did he hug me? This is infuriating. He's supposed to beat me up. You gotta love these kids. And Mubarak said he hugged you because he's human. And you reached a point where he was not able to repeat the experiment. So that's an iconic story for this confrontation. Let's do this. Let's talk about why this might not be an ideal example of the kind of marriage that I'm talking about between obstructive and constructive. Let's talk about the question of the stones. And then finally, let's get back to at least 2 things in the film, the documentary that I wanted to outline. Okay? So here's this Intifada, which in one important sense, it has both obstructive and constructive. They have curfews. They're not smoking Israeli cigarettes, so this is like a form of boycott. It's also a form of indigenous healthcare. They've got schools, milk delivery, everything, CP. They've got pretty darn good OP. The first Intifada results in, although you can't totally see the connections, it undoubtedly results in Oslo in the peace process, which is eventually going to be sabotaged and not get anywhere, and you're back to the same old, same old. In fact, I have a very dear friend, a former student who is Israeli, and never in her life did she imagine that she would not end up living in Israel, but she's back there right now visiting her family, and she's telling us for the first time she thinks she cannot live in that country. That's how bad things are. So one of 2 things is going to happen here. Either we're going to prove that nonviolence doesn't work, Nagel doesn't know what he's talking about, this whole thing is bunk, or we're going to say, yeah, it had both, but we're still somewhat short of the ideal combination. I sure hope it's going to be the latter. What might have been less than perfect in this combination here? What might have been a missing ingredient? This is a subtle point. It's not like a dumb question that I asked you last week. Yeah, Michael? Okay, so let me rephrase what you're saying in my own terms. I get to do that. The obstructive program wasn't perfect because you had the stones issue. So let's talk about that for a minute. Here comes this jeep full of IDF soldiers. They've got armor on. The U.S. government is paying $3 million a day to keep them supplied, and you're just a kid. You've got nothing but a stone. So you throw the stone. What does that mean? There is an argument that this is not violence, and there's an argument that it is. Okay, Paulo? Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're answering both, and I think those answers are both correct, and that leads us nowhere, basically. It's an interesting dilemma. It is, on one level, the intention of throwing a stone is not so much to injure as to show that you are not afraid. You called it defiance, and that's exactly the right term for it. So to the extent that you're not doing it in order to hurt, though I guarantee you most of the Shabab would be real happy if they could take out an Israeli with one of these things. But let's say that part of them is doing it not to hurt, but to show you can't frighten us, and this isn't your land just because you come by here in a jeep. As far as that goes, it's courage. And as far as that goes, it's darn close to nonviolence. On the other hand, yeah, Catherine? This is the problem. If they had more weapons, there's no guarantee that they wouldn't use them. It'd be one thing if they marched up to the street corner, threw down their Kalashnikov, and here's the ideal solution. Step out in the street in front of the jeep and say, go ahead, hit me. That would be ideal. Okay, this is the real world, however. So they probably would have used weapons if they had them, and that vitiates the nonviolence a little bit. Matthias and then Amy? Yes, it's rage. We want to get back to, I want to be sure we have time to discuss that. Yeah, I like rage, actually. Amy? Yeah, I never have thought of this connection before, but Eid al-Fitr, it's this Arabic, this Muslim festival. I think I got the right festival. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's in Mecca. You go past this pillar, which represents Iblis, the devil, and you throw stones at it. And throughout antiquity, since antiquity, stone throwing has been used as a way of punishing people who are so polluted that you cannot touch them. So stoning, you know this from the Old Testament. Stoning means ridding yourself of an abomination. So what do we learn from this? We learn, once again, Nagler was exactly correct, that using symbols, to the extent that it's symbolic of my defiance, right? Using symbols is tricky because the symbols have different interpretations. Okay, so let's see. I think to come back to our main track here that Michael was starting us off on, the obstructive program was somewhat flawed. We're not saying these people were not courageous. We are saying they were not under complete control. There was no Gandhi there to say, what? You're throwing stones? The movement is over, right? There's no Chowri Chowra happening here. So it's like in Seattle. You have these little small block of anarchists. They ruined it for everybody. So that's slightly flawed. I would say the constructive program was flawed slightly by the fact that they were just doing it to stay alive. They had no awareness that, hey, we can build our own culture and it can be beautiful and it can be like heaven here. It can be utopia. They had no such concept. They just wanted eggs. And who's blaming them? They had to stay alive. I'm not saying they did the wrong thing. But if you look at the constructive program in the movement of landless workers, they said we're going to start with a completely clean slate. We're going to have a new kind of education, a new kind of politics, a new kind of economy. We're going to go in for organics because we're part of the 21st century. It's just beautiful what they were doing. Okay, so I hope you are all convinced that nonviolence still works, and we can show that even though they had OP and CP, which is probably absolutely essential, they didn't have somebody coordinating it, looking at the whole thing, and saying, here's when we use this one, here's when we use that one, and here's why. Okay? Alex. Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. Again, this is a very important point. I have it underlined here in red ink on my notes, which I haven't gotten to yet. But there's a concept that we take from Central America and South America, which may even have touched on last semester, firmeza permanente, which means unwavering firmness. It means once you decide that something has got to be stopped, this must be fought, and that you're going to use the right means to fight it, that you're just going to keep on doing it until you can't go anymore. And very often it is the case, oh boy, we're running out of time. Very often it is the case that people who are doing something nonviolent feel that they should not be injured because they're doing the right thing. And heck, if this is a perfect world, like if we were God and we organized the world, the people who did nonviolence would not get hurt. But unfortunately, that's not in our job description. So what is going to happen when a movement meets with unexpected resistance? Two different unfortunate results can ensue from that. You can have this climactic breakdown, and the classic example of that is the Sharpeville Massacre, as it's called, in South Africa. It's 1962. I'm very, very bad on dates. But an unarmed demonstration was fired upon by the police, and something like 56 or 60 people were killed. And at that point, the ANC, African National Congress, which had been going full tilt in favor of nonviolence, went right back to violence. They said, and you'll have statements by Mandela saying that we wanted to be nonviolent in South Africa, but it didn't work because the opposition was too powerful. So that's why the first essay in your reader last semester was nonviolence in the case of the extremely ruthless opponent. You have it in there again this semester? Okay, anyway. So that's a climactic breakdown of discipline, but the thing that happens more frequently is wearing down through time. Attrition, just attrition. You get sick and tired. Look, we've been doing this for X number of years. We haven't gotten anywhere. We're hemorrhaging for money. We're losing blood. We're losing everything. We can't go on with this. It doesn't work. We go back to violence. So that's what happened in the case of the Intifada, at least for a lot of people. But look at the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in India, 1916. 400 people were killed, 432 people. And they didn't stop for a second. There was practically nobody who said, oh, we didn't realize that we were actually going to get hurt. So I don't mean to sound sarcastic about this. Who can blame these people? Here they are. It looks like if you go on with this, you're going to get killed. I'm not going to sit in judgment on anyone and say they shouldn't have stopped. But all I'm saying is, if they don't stop, the results are eventually going to be extremely positive. So the Intifada was a bit betrayed by forces on the international arena. I'm not mentioning any countries, but I think you can guess which ones I'm hinting at. And it was worn down by attrition. And these are reasons why the good result was not as permanent as we might have wished. Okay, we have 2 more minutes according to my little timepiece here, and I wanted to pick out 2 things from the documentary, both in connection with the Chilean movement. One of them is important, the other one is super important. Okay, the important one is, do you remember our friend picking up the phone and saying this was a clandestine movement? Well, again, this clashes with some of the squeaky clean theory that we learned in A, which is devotion to truth means that you never tell a lie. You're always out in public. And we have cases of people actually doing this contrary to expectations. We have Daniel Trocmé that we learned about on Tuesday, I think last week, where he said, okay, I don't care that the Nazis are in charge here. I will never tell a lie. As a Christian, I simply can't do that. Somehow the guy managed to survive miraculously. And there are other examples, too, of the incredible protective power that this strangely brings with it. But no one in the movement, neither the strategic folks nor the principled folks like me, are going to say, the minute you start a movement, you've got to telegraph the FBI and give them the names of all the people who came to the meeting and say, here's where we're going to be next Tuesday, and stuff like that. This is the real world. The other, and I want to discuss that with you a little bit next time. And I'll bring up, you remind me, Matthias, there's a case of a German Catholic priest from southern Germany who has a very interesting argument about this, so just remind me about him. The super important thing is this. This woman who lost her son in Santiago, in Chile, she says, and I wish we could hear the Spanish here. Maybe you could help us, Paolo, because I would really like to know exactly what words she used. So Paolo and Nubia get together and figure out what she said. She said, I was not angry, I was enraged, right? And because of that rage, I felt I had to act. Furio. I think you can almost hear that, furiosa, not enojada or something like that, but furiosa. Okay. This might just seem like a little play on words. You think, oh, there's Nagler, he's a comparative literature scholar, there he goes again. But actually, I think that this is critical. So let's talk about that a little bit.